Boundaries in relationships. Let's talk about it.
So, if you've been on the internet anywhere in the past 10 years, you've seen that marriage and boundaries have been kind of on a big decline. Now, I say this because marriage has been viewed as kind of a binding contract for the government and for just people to kind of go into marriage to get something out. You know, if you go in without a prenup, you take half of your spouse's stuff, which is stupid, honestly, right? But boundaries, on the other hand, right? People have been complaining about boundaries, like, oh, my girlfriend doesn't let me do whatever I want. My man doesn't let me do whatever I want. They're controlling this, and that. And I understand to an extent if your partner is controlling you and just not letting you do whatever you want, or not do whatever you want, but more or less just do whatever you feel like without consulting them, right? Especially if you're married, right? It's not controlling, it's kind of the boundary they set, and they want to stand on that boundary. Now, specifically, I see marriage as a contract with God more than I see it as a kind of a governmental form. Now, the reason I say that is because I want to get married. Okay, my active goal, or one of my active goals in life, is to get married, to move forward, and just to genuinely just move forward with a person that I've fallen to love, grow in love with, and hopefully have children. A lot of people say, oh, marriage, you can't. And I've seen plenty of videos of women getting proposed to and immediately crying like, no, you can't do this to me, like, I have so much going on. And I've seen plenty of videos where women are like, oh, like, I'm finally divorced. I'm oh my God, I'm finally divorced. This and that. And then they're like, oh, well, how much child support am I, if they have kids, they're like, how much child support am I getting, right? There is so much wrong with marriage today. There's so much wrong with boundaries today. All of it has been kind of demonized, and a lot of the problems with divorce have been more or less commercialized. It's so easy for men and women to get married, have children, obviously, right? Or not in the traditional sense of just, getting married, taking your time with someone, maybe knowing them a couple years, getting married, and then having children. The biggest problem is women immediately getting with somebody and then getting married just to take half their stuff. And then because they have a baby by that man or by that person, right, they immediately have the baby lock situation. They have it locked down. They get child support. And there's a lot of problems with that, which I don't want to get into, but because we're talking about boundaries, the failure to set boundaries, and I'll say this right now, a lot of relationships would genuinely fail within the first 2 months if they set solid boundaries, right? A lot of dating culture doesn't have boundaries set in mind. It has just kind of pleasure before consistency, right? Like if I'm going out, or if I start dating a woman, right, and I say, hey, I don't want you just going out to parties alone, right? Like, if you're going to a party, I'd like to go. If it's a family event, you don't feel comfortable with me going, fine. But if there's no family and it's just a party, right, I just don't want you going alone. I know how guys are. If I see a girl at a party, I'm gonna try to hit on her, right? Obviously. It's so easy to kind of just set these boundaries, and it's so hard to kind of enforce them because you don't want to seem controlling, right? Obviously. And a lot of the time you aren't controlling. You're just like, hey, these are my boundaries. It's so, it's so easy to overlook boundaries your partner has set. If you aren't willing to, I wouldn't say put up, but if you aren't willing to give up the lifestyle or the way if you aren't willing to give up the way you're living for the person you're dating and to respect their boundaries, you shouldn't be dating that person. In a relationship where somebody wants to genuinely make sure you're safe, or just set a boundary that you respect. If you can't respect boundaries, right, and I'll say this right now, if you can't respect boundaries, you shouldn't be dating somebody that is going to respect yours, or you shouldn't be dating anybody in general. If I'm dating a girl and my boundaries are set, right, I'm like, hey, the top three things I'm going to say is, hey, if, someone's just making you feel uncomfortable, send me a text, send me anything, I'll be there, right? If you're going to a party and, I don't know anybody there, right? And you don't know anybody there, right? If you're going, right, I would like to accompany you, right? But if it's an ex-boyfriend or if somebody's you had a relationship with in the past, no, I don't want you going, right? Or I don't want to put that possibility out there, right? If you're still talking to your ex, that is a huge boundary, right? I'm not going to date somebody who's talking to their ex, or that's a standard for me, right? That's not a boundary. And even then, I just don't want my girlfriend talking to her ex. I'm her boyfriend now. Why would you talk to your ex? A lot of people just let things like this slide, and it's just, and they get surprised when they get cheated on or when they break up, and it's like, I did all this stuff, man. This, and that. I'm like, no. A lot of problems, a lot of relationships, a lot of people go on without setting boundaries, and then they get heartbroken over it, and then they do it over again. So then when they meet somebody who sets boundaries, who sets genuine, thoughtful things down, like, hey, I don't want you doing this, that, immediately it's controlling. People are so used to just being able to do whatever, especially when they're single. They don't want to put up with, oh, I'm going out late at night, I'm doing this at night, I'm doing that at night. It's so easy to get comfortable doing whatever, and it's so hard to genuinely just sit down and kind of just be like, I can give it up for you, right? If I'm dating a woman for longer than, or if I've known her for longer than 3 years and we start dating, right, I don't mind giving a lot of things up, right? Because quite literally, I know this person, which is a huge thing, right? I know this person, which is a huge thing. I like this person. I care about this person, right? We've known each other for a long time. I don't mind giving all of it up. I don't mind kind of putting or trying to move into a new lifestyle. It doesn't bug me, because quite literally, and what I'd be doing is, she would set a boundary. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to set this boundary, and it would go back and forth. There's no problem with setting boundaries. There's no problem with that. And especially with marriage, especially marriage boundaries, those would be the strictest rules to follow, because you are married. I don't get the point of getting married with somebody if a year in, right, or not even a year in, you're going to get divorced, right? A lot of people get married off status, off look. I've said this before. A lot of people get married just because it looks good, because it sounds good. A lot of people don't get divorced because it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good, right? And so when I say, hey, I'm only going to marry a woman I'm serious about. If I'm dating a woman for 5 years and we're genuinely serious, I'm likely going to marry that person, right? There's no problem with it. The problem, especially now, is that we're so overexposed to marriages crumbling, child support payments, all this other stuff, and it's just sad. I don't want to live in a world where I have to worry if my girlfriend cheated on me, if the kid is mine or not, or if I have to pay child support for a kid that might not even be mine. If I'm dating a woman, right, I need to know if I'm going to be locked down, and I'm locking her down, right? Simply put. And a lot of this stuff is, a lot of women use the excuse, oh, I was bored. I'm like, dude, understand something. And this is why I'm so huge on communication, right? A lot of people are like, oh, well, I was bored in the relationship. Did you communicate that? Did you say, hey, I feel like we're hitting like a slow patch, or I feel like we're just a little slow. Can we do something? Can we move forward? Communication has never been more important than today's day and age, especially just dating. It's so easy for people to be like, oh, I was bored. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Did you communicate? Did you say, hey, I'm feeling this way. Hey, I want to do this. It's so easy to want people to acknowledge what you want without telling them or without communicating. But it's stupid, because quite literally you're just shooting yourself in the foot. This is why I can't date somebody who's toxic. If you're going to get mad at me at every single turn where I mess up, I don't want to date you. I don't want to be around somebody who's going to simply get mad at me for quite literally breathing the wrong way. It's not a case of, oh, well, I like them toxic, I like them this, I like them that. No, what you're saying is that you want somebody who isn't mature enough to sit there and talk, That's what it sounds like. That's what it is. It's not a simple thing of, oh, well, she's toxic, she's bad, bro. No, I hate the idea that being emotionally immature is not a fetish. It's more of a it's a stereotype. Being emotionally immature is a stereotype. If she's not toxic, I don't want her. What you're saying is, oh, if she wants to sit there and get mad at every time that I breathe, or not every, if she wants to sit there and get mad every time that I mess up, I want her to yell at me, I want her to scream at me. No, this is quite literally why I don't like toxic women. And they might not like me. A lot of the arguments for, especially for toxic women, are that, oh, maybe you don't deserve a toxic girl, or maybe you don't deserve this. I'm not aiming for that. I'm not going for toxic women because I know what it has. I know what ensues that. And that's the biggest problem, especially if you marry a woman that's toxic. I would never marry a woman that's toxic. I've said this before. I want a woman, I want a lady, right? I want someone who's emotionally mature enough to talk to buff out problems together, especially in marriages where, oh, she's toxic, she's emotionally immature. That's what it sounds like. That's what it is. I've said this to so many people. I get annoyed of saying it. Being toxic is a form of immaturity, especially emotionally. You aren't mature enough to date somebody because you're freaking out like a toddler over the fact that they didn't give you Oreos or they didn't do something you just subconsciously wanted them to do without communicating. It's frustrating. And communication, and I say this again, communication, I'm heavy on communication. There's no around for me, right? It's terrible. Communication is the foundation of relationships. You communicate when you start dating. You talk. You're like, hey, like, oh, we're like talking this and that, right? I get some people may just get too emotional and just immediately just shut down, move off, right? Fine. But if you're not mature enough to come back later, be like, hey, we need to, discuss what happened. We need to talk about what happened, right? I simply don't want to date somebody like that. And I hate the stereotype that the toxic, like la tóxica. A lot of guys that say, oh, I like them toxic, bro, no other way. I'm like, do you really enjoy that? Like, can you really stand the next, assuming you'll get married, right? You'll stay with this person to get married. Can you stand the next 40, 50, 60, 70 years of just getting yelled at? And obviously that's not going to happen. I'm exaggerating, right? But can you imagine can you imagine your 20s and 30s, maybe even 40s, with somebody who hasn't matured mentally enough to talk to just sit there and get mad at you? Obviously, they'll be mad at you, but get mad at you, not talk to you, and then yell at you when you want to discuss the situation? No, obviously not. This is why I'm so big on communications. There are marriages, there are couples, there are people who have been together for longer than 20 years who don't communicate with their partner properly. Do you like genuinely grasp that? There are relationships, there are people that have been together for longer than 20 years, have kids together, who don't communicate properly. I've seen this. I've seen it. It is the most infuriating. It is the most frustrating, infuriating. It makes my blood boil because quite literally these people should not be together. These people are a match in hell. Like, they are the worst match for each other. And I'm not saying this, like, if you're married for 20 years, that's an achievement, especially nowadays, right? If you're married for 20 years, congratulations. But if you've never learned to communicate, if you've never learned to talk to your partner openly and honestly and in the right way, I'm gonna start thinking it's performative. Okay, I've seen couples that I've seen couples fight. I've seen couples break down. I've seen mature people with longer than 20 years of dating. They have kids together. I've seen all of this stuff go down. This is why I'm so big on communication. A lot of my relationship views are purely made from the people that I've seen. A lot of my views are or a lot of my views and opinions on relationships are purely because of the things I've seen other couples do. I'm not against any couple. I'm not against people getting together. I'm against the immaturity, the lack of respect for one another that comes with just going out with somebody and not learning to communicate. Because ultimately that's what it is. It's a lack of respect for yourself, your partner, and maybe your kids if you have kids. The communication is the foundation which a relationship should be built on, not just attraction. Attraction should come after, or maybe a little before, right? Communication is the fundamental law of motion in a relationship. And it's infuriating, it's frustrating, and I've seen all this stuff. It's not pretty, especially when these people have been married for 20 years. And because the reason they haven't gotten a divorce is because they look terrible when they get a divorce. The social cue or the social atmosphere of relationships, of dating, of everything, it's so reliant on looks. If I'm not happy with somebody, I'm not staying with them. And if she's not happy with me, why would she stay with me? Right? I'm not saying I would cheat. No. I'm saying we would break up amicably, and that is it. Right? If somebody just doesn't like me, tell me.